Hello everyone and welcome to the coastal town of Valencia, known for its dedication to the arts and science and apparently esports, because DreamHack has been here since 2011 and we return once again for another DreamHack Valencia. This is going to be the Turtle Beach DreamHack All-Stars for Heroes of the Storm. I am your host, Richard Lewis, definitely not out of his depth. I know all about this game. You're going to see. I'm going to show you guys something. And with me, I've got an all-star panel. Next to me, we have got Hayoka. He does something at Team Liquid. Nobody's sure what, but
yeah.
Why are you on a panel as an expert?
Yeah, mostly it's bad postings, what I do.
I was going to say, like, you're biased. I'm just going to not be able to use you for the whole event.
I don't talk to the team that much.
Yeah, whatever. Next to him, we've got a man, again, I was trying to figure out what he actually does. Apparently, he's a Heroes of the Storm caster now.
I am as surprised as you are.
It is Tetcher. How are you doing?
I am doing fantastic. It is really, really hot here, and I am loving it.
Black shirt was a bad choice.
Really was.
Funny, you totally missed it. You got the sunglasses. It's okay.
This is the only shirt that survived the suitcase right here.
But at least he irons.
Yeah, true. Well, you know, your mother's not here to do it for you. So next to him, of course, it is a man who fell so far down the StarCraft ladder, he finds himself here, desperately clinging for relevance. It is, of course, Todd.
I told you I'd like to think I moved up.
Yeah. Obviously, you think that. No one
Actually,
else does.
I'm going to regret that comment if anybody from StarCraft
Yeah,
is
we're
watching.
going to wreck you on the panel. But it is good to see you again. And, of course, you are a Heroes of the Storm caster now. How's that working out for you?
Pretty good. Having lots of fun. I played a lot of games myself, so I'm going to hope to provide some, I guess, analysis and explain a little bit what's talking about with Thatcher over there.
Yeah, well, look, I'm definitely psyched to be doing a new game. I always am. I'm sure all the people at home are going to be psyched for this tournament. We've got 4 of the best teams in the world competing for $15,000, and now we're going to show you the bracket so you can have a look at the action that we've got lined up for you today. You can see right there, right off the start, we've got Na'Vi versus Gamers 2. Gamers 2, of course, the runners-up of the last DreamHack tournament at DreamHack Summer, and that will be followed by Team Liquid, who one of us on this desk might have a slight affiliation with.
Yeah, Todd.
And Team Rocket. And of course, this is the schedule we've got here. We will be starting very, very soon indeed, as you can see. So we'll quickly run through it all. But it's got to be said, as the warning, the disclaimer down there says that this is an accelerated schedule. Now, what that means, if you're not sure about all of this esports jargon, is that if the game ends super quick, we're not going to hang around. We're going to get straight into that game and bring you the action, because Heroes of the Storm can certainly be unpredictable, no doubt about that.
Yeah, so, you know all about that, don't you?
I definitely do, with the 4 games that I played in the build-up to this tournament.
Yeah, you played many different maps, though, so...
3 maps.
Which were? I really want to get this out.
There'll be plenty of time to humiliate me during the course of this the broadcast. But let's talk about the first game that we've got lined up. It is going to be Na'Vi versus Gamers 2. Obviously, a lot of pedigree here. It's going to be a rematch as well, I understand, if my research is correct, from the previous tournament, DreamHack Summer, where Gamers 2 did actually run all over Na'Vi. But we feel things might be a little bit different now. So I'll start with our resident expert.
Well, I mean, last time they played, Gamers 2 kind of ran away with it. But, you know, we're on a new patch. It's a month later. Gamers 2 changed some rosters, or changed one of the people on their roster. And so we're in a world now where Na'Vi is actually probably the stronger team by a fair margin, I would say.
So why is that then? I'll ask you, Tetcher.
Na'Vi have adjusted a lot better to the patch than most of the other teams at the moment. They're far more comfortable with the double warrior meta and far more comfortable with the current high-level assassins. They've just adjusted better to it and are running them a bit better.
And Todd, do you agree with that assessment of
your
co-caster?
The thing is, okay, I've played multiple games and casted multiple games, and there is always this scenario where you have like the favorites against the new guys on the block that are doing well. And then you always need to take everything into consideration, like the people that are doing well in the moment, but the people that have been doing well in these tournaments. And that's Team Liquid, you know? They won 2 DreamHacks that they played in. Both times Gamers 2 was second. So on paper here, since 3 of the teams that were there the 2 times that this happens out of 4, you kind of expect that this will happen again. But at the same time, you know, as these guys just mentioned very nicely, Na'Vi is doing much better now.
Well, I'll pin you down for some predictions in just a moment. You can see we're having a look at Na'Vi there. We're going to give you a rundown of all of the players in just a moment. But let's just talk about these teams and sort of, you know, in points of interest that might stand out for the people at home. Any notable players, any notable picks, any of that sort of thing?
Well, we already mentioned that Gamers 2 do have a new player on their roster. Another one with a difficult-to-pronounce name, like most of them. Bajek, I believe, is how you pronounce it.
Yes.
I probably have messed that up. But there's also the fact that Team Liquid aren't the only DreamHack champions here. Na'Vi, in fact, did win at the DreamHack Tours Open tournament. So they are another DreamHack champion here. None of the other teams at this event were at Tours. But, like we said, Na'Vi have been playing fantastically recently.
And Backsec replaced, I think we should mention.
Yep, replaced ADRD.
And ADRD was the specialist.
He was.
Who was doing kind of, I guess, I don't know why I'm going to use this example because I'm French, but in American football, you know, the quarterback is very important. In Heroes, it's kind of similar. Like you have like this one player that can play a lot of very difficult heroes to play, but if he does it well, he's really going to help his team win. So ADRD was that guy. So pretty important lineup change here.
He was the captain too. He was actually, he was directing a lot of the
So what was the story behind that then? Is there any sort of juicy esports drama? You know I thrive on that, guys. Like,
well,
there is.
If I can get into any game, it's going to be through the window of drama.
Well,
so
Gamers 2 released maybe the funniest press release I've seen all year, where they basically just said, we lost the game, it was entirely his fault, we're benching him. and then that's just what happened, and that was kind of what's like their public stance on it.
That's pretty brutal, but was it a fair assessment, Tetcher?
I was not there for the game.
Fence it there. Come on, Todd doesn't care about that.
No. Actually, it was 2 players, I think, originally, right? They mentioned that I think they didn't know whether or not, like, what was going to happen about it. I think they were probably playing with 2 subs for some times, and in the end, they chose to replace one guy, which, again, was the one guy last time at Summer that had a lot of really nice plays for them, was their captain, and was the specialist player, you know, playing on very difficult heroes like Abathur, the Vikings. He was one of their core players. So surely, like going into this tournament with this important change, not going to help them.
Very different team, I think. And especially, you know, they haven't played that many tournament games, but the ones they played were kind of weird. They did a really goofy draft with Tyrael and Asmodan yesterday, or 2 days ago, against Kappa 123, I think, in Major League. And so it's kind of like, it's really very much a wild card situation where we don't...
Why is Tyrael and Asmodan goofy, man? It's standard. Hero League procedure. There is all these viewers right now, they're like, I love Asmodan, what's he talking about?
Gamers 2 have always had the interesting drafts, but nowadays it's gone a bit off the bend.
Like
they were always leaning, and now they've lost a wheel. And it's this weird it's a weird situation, because in the previous DreamHack finals at Bucharest, for example, they picked Lili as their support on purpose when there were other people available. And they've always been the kind of team that will just bring in a odd pick now and again that people don't expect. But it's just not really working out for them over the last few tournaments.
So let's talk a little bit, again, I think we are just having, not PC problems, but I think we're just doing some last-minute setup. But let's just talk a bit about Na'Vi and what they've been doing to sort of have this imperious rise all of a sudden, because what you've already intimated very early on in the broadcast is that despite all of these great things about Gamers 2, despite their pedigree in tournaments and all that, we've got a strong feeling about Na'Vi for this game. So what are they doing right at the moment?
Na'Vi are playing it just a better start at the moment. I already said before they've adjusted a bit better to the patch, but they've brought a lot more stuff to bear in terms of double warrior, which a lot of teams aren't really using with the better efficiency that Na'Vi are, because a lot of their players are more comfortable in those roles. Whereas opposed to, if you compare them to a team like Team Liquid sort of moved far more towards the specialists as opposed to the tanks. So it's 2 completely different styles there, and it's working out a bit better for Na'Vi in their current games.
I think one important thing to note is how they've kind of like stuck together and haven't had too many lineup changes. They went to DreamHack Tour, and they got first there. And actually, they replaced one of their players with one of the players that was on the team that finished second, which was an all-French team, Mad Corps. Also, actually, we can also mention that Gamers 2 and Liquid, they've gotten first and second in the 2 DreamHacks that they played. They were a team that all spoke the same language. So we were talking previously a lot, me and Tetcher, in the last DreamHack about how this must have helped them. Na'Vi, they're kind of the exception. They got 1 Bulgarian player, they got 2 Swedes, they got the Frenchies, so they're like a big mix of everything. So they communicate in English, but somehow they seem to make it work pretty well, because they're very high up there in terms of top European teams, I think, right now.
And what about that patch? Because I know obviously this might be something that it's not as recent as perhaps some patches in other games have been going on. Counter-Strike, for example, just had an update just before the tournament yet again.
Thanks, Richard.
Just to word that in there, maybe check that out later. But
synergy.
But I might be on that desk as well. People might like me, just to get out there. But my Twitter is I'm kidding. So let's talk about this patch, because again, I'm new to the game. I'm learning heroes to be able to make some sort of intelligent contribution to to a desk like this in the future. Not that I'll ever get a work one again. But what has fundamentally changed about this new patch, and why are some teams maybe struggling to adapt to it?
The most important things that changed in this new patch is the nerfing of quite a few of the previously key heroes in terms of the actual combos you could do. For example, the Lost Vikings, who were an incredibly powerful specialist, who were incredible at lane soaking, and they were really decent in a team fight. They had a load of their abilities moved around to different levels that hammered them very hard into the ground. They're still playable, and I wouldn't be surprised if we do see them today, but they are not the powerhouse they used to be. Right. And the other one is Illidan, who his main heroic, the Metamorphosis, also got nerfed. It has a much smaller radius now and does less damage when he transforms. So he's less useful in terms of that fight. So we see less focus on the Illidan's. Once again, still playable. It's a pretty decent patch for that.
It's actually interesting to note that Na'Vi is one of the teams that picks him most often, I think.
Yeah, and they also are one of the teams that actually pick him with the Hunt as well, which is also just a very cool ability and very interesting to do if you're going for that solo gank.
It's really powerful when they do the double warrior Illidan, and then they just run at you with
and just stun you until you stop moving.
Yeah, basically. Like, well, we have 1 billion health. What are you going to do?
Yeah. Well, what are we going to do, Richard?
Yeah, what are we going to do? A question I definitely can't answer.
I saw the look on your face.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Interesting. Look, I'm absorbing. I'm learning. So what we're going to do is we're going to introduce one of the teams we were just talking about. We're ready for that part of the show now. So we're going to give you a rundown on Gamers 2. I'll let all of you guys chip in and tell me about these players. And, of course, the people at home as well who might just be tuning in to Heroes of the Storm tournament for the first time. You can tell us about these guys. I would quite like to hear your efforts at pronouncing a couple of these names when they do come up. Let's not do that. That's a wicked hat, by the way.
It's awesome.
Oh, wow. Wow.
That's a big upgrade from the glasses.
I can do him. That's Leo from Korea.
It is. Gamers 2 have always been a team that has incredible camera presence. They are amazing in all of
Fun fact, he's not actually from Korea.
Leo from Korea is one of my favorite gamer IDs.
Right. Oh, look at this badass.
Yeah.
Knicker as well. That's,
a lot of sunglasses here.
Yeah, well, you do need it, man. It's when you step outside, especially if you're in esports and you haven't left your bedroom for like 10 years, you know, it's like seeing the sun. It's a bit of a... And there's the one that you struggle to pronounce, Bajek.
He is the newest player. He is the one that just got brought in to replace ADRD. So, going to be keeping an eye on him throughout the tournament.
Knicker, the assassin, by the way, for the team. Okay. Been there for a long time and very good on Vala, Sergeant Hammer, all these guys.
Very much so. Right, try this one.
Siju?
Shihu.
Shiku.
Shihu. Yeah.
Well, what do you think
Had a phlegm in there.
What do you think his best heroes are, Thatcher?
Probably Tyrael, if I had to guess. He's always been pretty solid. And we have Yuva, final player.
Best heroes?
Don't know, I wouldn't be too comfortable saying for that. I've seen him play a lot of stuff like outside of his main roles in terms of just like matches on ladder. So he's very versatile.
And we move straight across to Na'Vi now. Easier to pronounce names.
Yeah, a lot easier.
We'll let off the hook here. So again, I'll let you jump in, Hayok. Tell me about these guys.
Okay. Well, it's Schwimpy. He's mostly known for his excellent hair, I think.
Yeah, Na'Vi are a team with incredible hair. We were discussing this.
So we've talked about camera presence, we've talked about hair. No, we can't even name what the best heroes are.
See, you can see it in this shot too.
Yeah, Breeze is a glorious presence, isn't he? Look,
he is.
Born for camera.
Adonis. No, incredible player, all of the Gamers 2 lot and all of the Na'Vi lot. But Na'Vi, like we can see, a bit less camera presence. Eternal.
The Bulgarian player of the team.
Yeah. It's going to be.
He's been doing pretty well, I think. Like in their latest matches, even at Summer. Like I like how he played. Their latest addition, again, JPL, the lone French player here on the team. He joined them after Na'Vi took first in DreamHack Tour, and he was back then on Mad Corps, which took second. They were like, well, they took second. This guy's pretty good. Let's just take him. Hey, this happens in every game in esports, doesn't it?
Steal your assassin. And JPL is the ranged assassin for the team. And then we have Splendor on the end there, who were named after a British brand of butter. We were found out earlier.
I'm pretty sure that's not true. If I can just say that he's not named after that during the broadcast, just in case someone brings it up, like in an esports pub quiz 10 years from now.
So do you think we're going to see like a really goofy draft this game? I feel like this is one of the matchups where the draft is going to go really off the rails really quickly.
Well, it's got to be said as well, what with it being a double elimination kind of tournament, you probably can take a gamble early on. You can probably take that risk. So if anything, the tournament format kind of lends itself towards that as well, right?
Yeah, I would say so. You can definitely afford to take that kind of risk, especially during these early rounds. And as we talked about earlier, Gamers 2 have always been the team to maybe try something interesting. Usually they sort of leave it to the finals. But against Na'Vi, a team that's always been, like we were talking about earlier, bringing in the hunt, bringing in interesting strats, interesting abilities, this could be one where, like Higgs said, the draft can just go very off the rails very quickly.
So, Todd, give me an example of an off-the-rails draft in Heroes. What kind of elements should we be looking out for? How do we know when things are starting to go a little bit crazy?
When they pick that heroes that you don't really see combo together, or like, say for example, like if two specialists are picked, like that would be, I guess, a little bit of out of the ordinary, depending on who it is. Because the thing is, you have heroes that are like really, really good, like Viking, Sabather, but it's like very situational. So sometimes people, they try to mix in like a few of those things together, and it becomes a little bit weird. Most of the time, their drafts are always going to make sense to some extent. Up until, the one game they go totally crazy and do like, I don't know, like TRL with something else that doesn't engage very well, and you're like, where is this going?
Yeah, they're going to run in and then just dunk him.
Yeah.
I think, I actually kind of feel like, we see in Korea every once in a while people do this thing where they go triple warrior, and I feel like that would lend itself well to Navi's style, although I suspect they haven't practiced it.
Isn't that mostly on like small maps? Or like the mines or something, where like you're going to be brawling a lot?
Yeah, you see it in like the open maps, I think, typically.
They ran, in Korea, they did run 3 warriors with Sylvanas on the Haunted Mines, and they just pushed forever and could not be stopped. Was pretty insane.
Back in the day when you do the thing where you go Lost Vikings, and then you have everyone except for one of the Vikings in the bottom lane just push, like on Cursed Hollow.
I want to actually, like, since me and Tetcher are going to have a lot of opportunities to talk during the game, I want to ask you a little bit more, Heyoka, because you're from North America. And now these are European teams playing. So how do you think like these two matchups against each other, like in terms of strength, weaknesses, and all that?
I was doing a lot of research because historically, I watch a lot of North American teams, and so I was trying to figure out, what exactly makes Europe different. And I think a lot of it it's not so much. You see a lot more, I guess. In North America, the predominant style is you draft sort of for one big team fight, like towards the end of the game. Basically, you make a draft, and your idea is you're gonna 5-0 them, and then you're just gonna push in and win at minute 19, 20. And in Europe, it seems to be it's a lot more like there's more like split pushing, or people do a thing where they play the game more methodically and kind of wait for their opportunity, and then they try to push people around.
Yeah, it's not unusual in some EU games to go to like 20 minutes with 4 kills total over both teams, and just because teams are backing off, not taking fights, and just focusing on the objective and area control.
So who's better though, Europe or America?
It's hard to, the way I like to typically describe it is that if you go by the top one team, North America is probably better right now. I think Tempo Storm is probably better than anyone in Europe.
Of course.
But as far as like depth, Europe is way better. They have way more players that are better. NA falls off really quickly past like the top 2 teams basically.
Yeah, but they're still the best though at the top, right?
Probably. I guess we're gonna have to find out someday.
So predictable. Is there any sport where it's never going to come down to NA versus EU? Is that ever going to happen?
The thing is,
can we all just get along?
A month ago, I would have said that Liquid was stronger than Tempo Storm, but I don't think that's true anymore. I think Tempo Storm probably is better than both Liquid and Na'Vi.
Wow. Strong words.
Just come to Europe. You speed this fight.
So to any of the fans that are here that are hearing this that disagree, he's doing an autograph signing session afterwards.
Yeah, I'll be right out there.
I'll hand out the really sharp pens for you.
I'm not going to talk to any European fans all day now. Hiding in the back.
You're done. So look, I did say I was going to sort of start nailing you down for predictions. Obviously, I know map is an issue and draft's an issue, but just overall, we think on just talent and qualities in the team, current form. We're all sort of leaning towards Na'Vi here in this particular matchup, right?
I think so.
Okay, so let's elaborate. Tell me why.
Okay, so I've already mentioned how Na'Vi, I think, has adjusted a bit better to the patch. And there's the fact that you have to work with the psychological aspect behind this of Na'Vi have a lot to prove in this matchup, where Gamers 2, they've come off quite a few losses in previous tournaments, coming up to this just online. And now they're coming in against the team that, if you go by previous performances, they're going to be thinking that they should win. But Na'Vi are like, well, we're playing better. We just beat Liquid in the tournament a couple of days before this. We're coming in and we want to just crush these guys who knocked us out last time.
Well, we're about to go into the veto, so again, you boys can talk through this. I'll be honest, some of these maps, a little bit alien to me.
Hey, you know some of them. Tell us about your experience. Not that we have to talk about the map.
There's the one with the pirates.
That's Black Heart Bay.
What happens on this map?
That's the one where you. Oh God, I've got to try to remember. I was streaming.
Okay, Thatcher.
Drunk.
For the new viewers out there, can you explain us what happened on Black Ops Bay?
Yeah,
Okay.
you get money.
Yeah,
and you give it to the pirate, and the pirate makes it. Things go boom.
Black Ops Bay is the only pay-to-win map in Heroes, where basically you go around the map, gather coins, and like you said, pay the pirate, who then shoots your enemy's buildings.
Yeah. So there you go. See, Todd. See. I know.
It's historically accurate. I think that's what pirates actually do, right?
I think it looks like Navi picked Curse Hollow as first map. Gamers 2 picked Black Ops Bay as map number 2, and then Deciders Dragonshire. Am I getting this right? The G2
right
and
to
Envy
me.
on each map is the veto.
Yeah, that is correct.
I believe so.
It took me 2 minutes to do this.
So yeah, so first map should be Cursed Hollow. Very standard map. Most of the teams have loved it ever since Technical Alpha. It's rigid. What's Cursed Hollow?
No, that one's actually escaped me. That isn't the one that I don't think I've played.
That's the map we see most often played in Game 1. That's the one that people tend to agree on tends to be, it's kind of more
Open?
Like, yeah, people feel like it's, it's harder to abuse, I guess. You could say, almost.
During the alpha, it was actually widely considered like the higher like skill cap map where like, you couldn't really snowball nearly as much as on some of the other maps. So like most of the pro teams, they wanted to play that more often than some other maps. That didn't last very long though. It's been changing all the time. What maps the pros want to play.
I mean, so is that the veto that you sort of expected to see? That those are the maps that we're going to get through? Because we did say earlier, just when we were doing our pre-show, Battlefield of Eternity, we didn't think we were maybe going to see that this tournament.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Blackheart Bay being the second map is actually kind of unusual. It's
Okay.
That's not super common to have that map get through the vetoes. A lot of people don't like playing it. They feel like it's really hard to come back from if you start up down.
It's a snowball kind of map.
If you miss that first turn-in, it gets really hard because they start destroying your buildings and then they get experience for that, and suddenly it just compounds their lead.
Usually it's like there's a few teams that are good on Black Ops Bay and they are the only ones that want to play it. So like the opposite teams always kind of veto it, but by the look of things, both of these teams were fine with playing it because they didn't veto it. So going to be cool to see as map number 2.
Yeah. So, I mean, just again, we'll get back to what we were talking about just before the veto. I'll bring you in, Todd, because for once, you've been strangely quiet. Just some,
What?
Yeah, you've talked a lot less than you usually do. It's nerves, I reckon. That or
Okay, Richard.
you're still thinking, can you tell this shirt's an ironed on camera? I don't know. One of the two. But let's get your thoughts, just to pick your brains about sort of these two teams. And now that we've had the veto, do we still have a strong feeling for Na'Vi here with our predictions?
I mean, like I said before, Gamers 2, they took second in both of the DreamHacks they attended. Na'Vi, they got hurt pretty bad by Gamers 2 in the last DreamHack. So on one hand, you have experience against the guys that are supposedly more in shape right now. So it's always, that old duel that you're going to see across all these sports games, and that happens all the time. And I feel like most of the time, to be honest, experience is going to be rewarded in a lot of these tournaments, whereas, like doing well on internet and stuff is nice, but like when it comes down to, a big tournament like this and everything's on the line, I think that experience is going to be more important. So as much as on paper, I'm looking at these two teams and like how well both of them have been doing right now, it's like, well, very clearly Navi's favored. At the same time, I think we really shouldn't underestimate Gamers 2.
Do you think, too, with Heroes being kind of a new game, do you think nerves end up playing into it sometimes? A lot of these guys haven't been competing for 20 years like some of the other games.
Yeah, but not for these guys. Like these guys, they've been to quite a few DreamHacks already. Like they've played plenty on stage. They play every week online, like together and in tournaments that they know are watched by thousands. So I think these guys probably definitely not, unless like one of them has like some crazy nerves problems.
Well, you might get another Gamers 2 press release about you if you play badly. So
a lot of pressure on.
Yeah, a lot of pressure. You don't want to be making the headlines for the wrong reasons. So, I mean, you had a strong feeling for Na'Vi as well. I mean, I agree with what Todd's saying. Obviously, you can't underestimate Gamers 2. You just got to look at their running tournaments to say that. But if we are saying Gamers 2 are an upset team here, what needs to happen for them to upset the odds against Na'Vi?
Well, one of the interesting things here is they're going to play Cursed Hollow map 1, and historically that's been one of Na'Vi's weaker maps. They especially with all the tight corridors and stuff, they run those compositions with like melee warriors, and they end up just running around doing nothing.
And that was when they had ADRD, their specialist, who with Abathur on this map was pretty darn insane.
Yeah, if you didn't ban it, then you were going to have a terrible game.
I wonder actually, like, does that come into play? Like, do they maybe ban Abathur here, thinking that Backshake might pick it? It's going to be hard, by the way, saying their names.
Yeah, we're going to struggle, but it should be fine. But It's going to be interesting. There's something just a bit off topic here that I've always liked the difference between the teams and how they draft. For example, we can see Gamers 2 just all sat down, just doing it over voice, basically just asking, is this okay? Yep. But Na'Vi always just group around. It is because their coach and their manager help them a bit with the draft and put them their opinions in. So they all just group around the one person doing the draft as opposed to sitting down on headsets or anything.
It's like doing a huddle. They're in an actual huddle.
Team building.
Yeah.
Get Todd to do another American football reference. So it's like, you know the quarterback, yeah.
They're going to do one of those.
Pure solo on 3.
But yeah, so it's certainly going to be a great start to the tournament. I still haven't really got over the fact that he's wearing a sheriff's hat on the end there. Leo from Korea.
The oversized glasses didn't do it for you, but
the sheriff's hat definitely does. But yeah, so back to your point here, you're talking about, that Na'Vi have let sort of a weak map through. Is that indicative that maybe they've got an ace up their sleeve? Maybe they've been putting some practice in on it? Or
it's possible, yeah. I mean, they've been playing it more. On Monday, they played it fairly early in that series against Liquid.
I believe so.
Yeah, and game 2, I want to say.
That is the one they lost.
That's the one. Yeah, exactly. That's the one where they charged the core, and then they didn't time it correctly with the creep wave.
Yeah, they tried to backdoor. The creep wave got stuck on the Liquid creep wave, and they got the core down to 6%.
Yeah.
And then Liquid came back.
And then they rezzed and killed them.
But they didn't res. They were all just out on the map. They just all came back and just wiped
that's
all
right.
of them.
Yeah, they came back.
And Todd, I'll ask you about the draft. Are there any features that we think we're going to see here? I mean, you did say that Heroes of the Storm draft, sometimes there can be some consistent picks that you're likely to see almost every game, but is there anything out of the ordinary you think you might see from either of these two teams?
Well, the thing is, I'm already looking at it, and we're supposed to jump into it when it's halfway done, so...
Yeah, that's why I'm talking about it now. I was trying to be...
You shouldn't have said that. You should have made it sound like
do you understand?
Really
I'm trying to set you up to look amazing, Todd.
I don't want to be like, I think Gamers 2 might play a Bather, like, fully knowing they already picked it. I wouldn't be able to live with myself.
Spoilers, dude.
Whatever. Well, look, we're going to throw you in there real soon. Just some final predictions. Give me some scores. Give me some numbers.
2-0 Na'Vi. That's what I'm going with.
2-0.
2-1 for Gamers 2.
So contrary, so contrary. The draft is underway, but without any further ado, I thought that went pretty well. It was relatively painless. We started the Heroes of the Storm desk pretty nice, I think. So it's now on you guys. You can't let us down at this point. I'll be watching. I won't know what you're talking about, but I'll be watching. So there we go. We are now going to throw over to our cast to take you into this first game. It's going to be Na'Vi versus Gamers 2. It is going to be brought to you by Tetcher and Todd. I've started calling them the Todger combination. Take it away, boys.